Welcome to the Bailey Howe Library. In this video, we'll take a look at how to do a basic search in a database and how to limit or expand a database search. We'll start by clicking on Articles and More here at the library's homepage, library.uvm.edu, and we'll take a look at one of our multidisciplinary databases, Academic Search Premier. I'll click on it and pop up that database. While databases are all a little bit different, you can think of them like cars. Although Hondas, Fords, and Chevys all have their windshield wipers and radio controls in slightly different places, they'll all have the same basic parts: tires, a gas pedal, a brake pedal. Although our databases are vended to us by different companies, EBSCO, ProQuest, Gale, they too all have the same basic parts and function similarly. Databases will all have search boxes where you can add search terms to expand or narrow a search. You can narrow a search by using and adding search terms. For example, if we do a search for interdisciplinary education, we get 2,125 results. Notice that I put the search term in quotations so that it will be searched as a phrase. Now let's add the term post-secondary and science if we were to narrow in that way and see what we get for a number of results. We now have 23 results. So what's happening here is that rather than just pulling all of the records that have the term interdisciplinary education, again that was 2,125, we're pulling records that have all three search terms. You can think about it a bit like a Venn diagram. Here are our search terms, and by connecting those terms with and, what we're telling the database to do is find records that have each of these search terms somewhere in the record. Each record that appears in our result list must have interdisciplinary education, post-secondary, and science somewhere in the record. So you can see we've narrowed from 2,125 results down to 23. If we wanted to broaden our search, we could change the connector to OR, meaning that we are now searching for records that have any of these search terms rather than all three. This will expand your search dramatically. We now have over 3 million results, which isn't surprising since these are pretty common terms. You could use a not search if you were looking for information on a topic like the effects of physical abuse on adolescents. If we did a search for adolescent and abuse, you can see that we get over 13,000 records. If we look through the records, we can see that there are a good number dealing with substance abuse or sexual abuse, alcohol abuse. If we were not interested in these and we were interested instead strictly in physical abuse, we could add the terms not substance and not sexual to our search. This search will exclude any record from that initial 13,000 that had either the term substance or sexual somewhere in the record. So you can see we go from 13,000 down to 2,000. Again, that's quite a big number to pare down. Obviously, these are big numbers of results that we're working with, but I want to show more how and, or, and not work to help expand or pare down a search. So let's go back to our initial search, interdisciplinary education. By not changing the drop-down boxes to the right, we're defaulting to a keyword search. If we do this search, and then click on the first record, we can see that the database is picking up our search term anywhere in the record. It's in the subject, in the abstract. It's in a few different places in this record. If we use the drop-down menu to modify those search terms, we can look in specific places in the record for our term. We might use our search term and look in the title, that being the title of the article, or we could look in the subject terms, or in the abstract. When we search by title, we're looking only in the article's title for that word. Searching by subject searches the subject terms for this article. These subject terms have been applied by an indexer who has read this article and said that this article is about science, interdisciplinary approach in education, blended learning, experiential learning. Subject searches are nice and specific because what you are searching is the about concepts that an indexer has tagged to this article. If we limited our search to the abstract, we'd only be searching the abstract text for our search term. You can also search for specific authors by using the drop-down, or you can search within a specific journal by providing the journal's title. And if you wanted to, you could search within a journal for an article by searching for the journal's title, changing the drop-down to journal name, and then adding your search terms as you normally would. That will limit your search to only articles from that journal. There are a few other features I'd like to show you. If we go back and do another initial search by clicking here on Advanced Search, you can limit your search to a specific date range so that you only get articles from the period of time that you specify. But maybe the most helpful thing on this page is the peer review button. This will limit your results to only items from peer-reviewed journals. You may hear your instructors asking for articles from peer-reviewed sources. A peer-reviewed source means that the article has gone through the process of being reviewed by other experts in the discipline, who serve as that journal's review panel. They will deny or accept articles and usually provide the author with written feedback. Because peer-reviewed articles have gone through this vetting process, they are generally seen as more authoritative, and hence why your instructor might ask only for peer-reviewed material. By clicking this button, you will get articles from only peer-reviewed sources. And again, this peer-reviewed button or limit is common to almost every database. Other databases might have other limiters specific to a discipline. For example, PsycInfo lets you limit in ways that are helpful to the field of psychology. In PsycInfo, you can limit by methodology, so you could limit to empirical studies, or focus groups, or field studies. You can also limit by age group, childhood, school age, adulthood, adolescence, or by population, male, female, animal, human, inpatient, outpatient. All we would need to do is click on these limiters, and we would be searching only the articles that fit the profile to which we've limited. I'd like to conclude by saying that research is not necessarily a linear process. It's an iterative process, and you should expect to have to revise your search many times throughout the process. From what you find through your initial searching, you'll learn new concepts and maybe gather new search terms, and then you'll apply those forward in your next searches. The research process is one of constant revision, so don't be discouraged if you don't find exactly what you're looking for with your initial searches. You may need to read a few articles in order to understand better what concepts and terms you should search with. In the next module, we'll look at how to find the full text of an article from a citation that you may have found in your results lists or from some other source. Thanks very much.